Welcome to this week's episode of So It's Not Just Me. I'm your host, Joanna, and today I invited Katie back to talk about a few new topics that we've not really spoke about too much on the podcast before. So, with that, Katie, do you want to let us know why you're here today?
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me back. So I am here to kind of talk about something that I feel like is more common than most people kind of realize, but growing up with addiction in my family. So I have someone very close to me. My mom is a recovering addict, and I grew up with that pretty much my whole life. So just kind of here to share my sides of the story and just give some, experience and feedback, and hope that it reaches some people that can relate.
Yeah. Now I'm going to start off by saying we're not here to pick on Katie's mum or to upset her in any way. It is all going to be very much Katie's side of the story. So we are going to be very very careful not to say anything that may upset or offend anyone. So I just want to put that there straight away. Can you tell us some of like your earliest memories of home life and when you kind of realised that there was something going on that wasn't really going on in other households?
Yeah, so for the longest time I can remember, I think I was about 9 years old, is when my parents actually started to split. When from what I understood was just like separating, but of course landed in divorce eventually. So there was some stuff going on in my house, and my mom wasn't there as often as she used to be. So just kind of like it was me kind of stepping up a little bit and just be like, hey, like watch your brother and sister for a little bit, or I'm gonna have somebody come help watch you guys after school. Mom's sick, like she's not feeling well, and that kind of thing. So it's kind of more like a sickness. It was kind of blanketed as for me. And I was 9 years old, so I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew that I knew that she wasn't well, but I didn't know that it was drugs until later on.
Right.
When I actually was able to get like a conversation from my dad and my grandparents and stuff just to let me know what was kind of actually going on. But for the longest time, it was just like, she's sick. She's not doing well. She needs to take her medicine, kind of thing. So a lot of the time, just like growing up, like it was just kind of, wishy washy, like she was here and then she wasn't there. And there was a lot of times where I was just kind of with family members. And there was a point in time where my aunt even like came down and lived with us for a little while. So that's when I kind of knew something was up, because like someone kind of just stepped in and was like almost like another figure in the house. And I was like, okay, so it's like she's really not doing well. She's sick, like she needs to get some help. And then it started to be like, we're gonna go visit mom at her hospital, at her place where she's staying to get better. And then we had to get taken to like a feelings doctor, is what we called it. So therapy. So for us kids, we had to go talk to the feelings doctor. So once that just started to get it like more and more, I knew that like, okay, this is something more. I think I understand what it is. But I think I shielded that pretty well from my brother and my sister. They're younger than me. So I was kind of just, I took on the little responsibility role, if you will. Was kind of trying to take care of them, became a mini mom. So I've got kids of my own now, but I think I've been a mom since I was 9 or 10 years old, honestly.
When you was told like she's sick, did it start to worry you that there was something like an actual illness? Not that addiction isn't an actual illness, but I mean something that's like life threatening that medically could have been helped.
Yeah, yeah,
Was that something that you had to deal with?
I definitely thought like when I heard the word sick, of course, I was like, what's wrong? Like, how can I help her? Like, why can't she be home? Why can't I take care of her? Like,
Yeah,
why can't she be here with my dad? And she should be around us, and we should be making her feel better. But then it just kind of, I don't know, like other like bad things started happening along with it, and it was more so like maybe like don't talk to your mom today, like don't answer the phone if this number calls, or that kind of thing. So then I was like, oh, okay. So it doesn't seem like it's really sick. Like she's, it might just be more in the head sick or something like that. Like I,
right,
of course, wanted to help, but I couldn't.
right, okay. Did you understand what addiction was at the time? Because obviously, being 9 years old, I remember as a 9-year-old, I'm probably playing with my Barbie dolls and, not really thinking about much else. And I don't
Right.
really know when I learnt what addiction was.
Yeah. I
Probably
don't
in my
think,
late teenagers.
right. Yeah. I don't think I actually understood the actual like concept of addiction, like true addiction. I knew that she was choosing to do some things and like was not around the best people sometimes, and I didn't really know that it was just going to be so bad for so long. Like it was just something that she couldn't get out of on her own. Like I
Right.
didn't understand that part. I got so angry when I was little. Like I sometimes when I would answer the phone and it was like a call from a random number and it was her, like it was always a blocked or private number. That's how I knew it was her. 'Cause she had been on like some sort of, a couple days where she was MIA, and then I was waiting to hear from her. So I knew if it was a private number or something. I even got a cell phone when I was 10. My dad gave me my own phone so I could make sure that I was communicating, because I was kind of the adult, making sure my brother and my sister were good and getting home and all that. So anytime I kind of answered the phone, I knew I would get angry, and I would just be like, why are you doing this? Like, why is this happening? Why aren't you home? Like, come home. And I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that like she just couldn't
Right.
get out of it. And once she got in that cycle, it just was constant, and it's really really hard to get out of easily. So
Did you ever have a time where you kind of got cross with your dad for like not letting you see her or not telling you the whole truth or feeling like he wasn't
yeah,
there helping as much as he could be looking after your mum?
yeah. Sometimes I was just like, what's going on? Why are you keeping her from me? Like that kind of thing when I didn't fully understand. And I'd get frustrated, like if he was doing something and wasn't home or something and nobody was there for us. I was just like, what's going on? Like, why are we not trying to figure out what's wrong with mom? Why are we not fixing it? Because I didn't know in the back end there was way more to it,
Yeah.
obviously, and he was
Yeah.
doing the best he could. But to me as a kid, of course, I'm just like, why can't I go see her? Like she should be here.
Yeah. No, I get that. I don't I don't think I know anybody. No, I've never dealt with or been around anyone who has had any sort of addiction, and listening to it's really interesting to me. So I do apologize if I pause a little bit more than usual. It's just
No,
it's really really interesting. Like I love learning, and it's really
yeah.
interesting to hear. Um, did you ever feel unsafe around your mum when she was there, or as a child, did you panic more, or those kind of
Hmm.
things?
I never really felt like unsafe in the beginning, when I guess more so when I didn't know exactly what was
Right.
going on. Like again, anytime I was around her when I could be, I just was under the impression that she was sick and just not feeling well. So I didn't know, how to navigate that in any other way. But um, I never felt like unsafe until things started to get worse,
Right.
and just like the what we call the benders, things that would just come up, and there were a couple of days where things were just really really bad, and she was just gone and stealing things, and there's lots of things that kind of happened in our family that she's been open about and public about. She wrote a book about it herself in her recovery, so all of it's kind of in detail there. But once I started to learn that kind of stuff and the people that she was around, yes, there was times where I started to feel unsafe. And like when I got the full confrontation, like from my dad and my grandparents were always telling me, like, you can't, I know you want to see her, I know you want to help her, but she's not in a good space right now. She can be dangerous,
Right.
because of the people she's surrounding herself with, because of the things she's choosing to do.
Yeah. So when you then became a teenager, was she still having the issues? Was she still problems occurring and things?
Yeah, so it was pretty much all the way up until, I mean, she was like about 7, 8 years sober or so now. So um, all the way up, I don't even know how old am I?
Mid
I'm almost 30.
20s.
I'm like, I'm almost 30. Yeah. So up through my 20s,
Wow.
like right before I hit my 20s, when I got home from college.
And those years when you're a teenager are so important. And I know myself, I I always looked for my mum and my dad for advice. And if I didn't like my dad's advice, I'd go to my mum. If I didn't like my mum's advice, I'd go to my dad's. How was it being a teenager in the early 20s, and growing up not having that mother figure to be able to rely on and to be there, even though you knew she was physically around?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely tough. I remember like one of my first things happening like when I was an early teen. So this was like the beginning of it all, when I got my first period, and I didn't
Right.
have like, I started going through the stuff like that. Um, and first crushes and having like my first real boyfriend. And granted, she was in and out, so she did have the chance to meet my first boyfriend and get to know him and things like that, like throughout school, like it was here and there. So that was almost more difficult, I think, maybe, because it was like, oh, yay, like you're here, like this is what's going on. And then, oh, I didn't hear from you again and you're gone and now you've relapsed again. And it's just like kind of this vicious cycle. So there was, a lot of things, milestones and things that happened to me during those, formative years. And I remember like, going off to college, she wasn't there to kind of send me off. Of course, my
Right.
dad was, and he's great. And he always moved me in with a smile. But my mom wasn't there for those types of things. So, and I know she kind of regrets all of that, obviously. She did make it to my high school graduation, and to my sisters, but not to my brothers. So you can
Right.
kind of see, and my brother's in the middle. So she made it to mine, didn't make it to my brothers, and then made it back to my sisters. So, and we're all 3 years apart. So it's kind of like that cycle was just like she missed things off and on, and yeah, it's tough for sure.
What kind of so you kind of touched on that your aunt moved down to help, and your dad obviously. I know your dad. We all know I know your dad. He's great. I don't really know your mum very well. I think I only met her at your wedding. That's the only time I've really met your mum.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't really speak to her too much. But what did your support system look like?
Yeah. So all of my very close best friends, my girlfriends, they've been around pretty much most of my life. Have been, in the picture. They know what was going on. They were around when my parents got divorced. They were there when, through almost every single relapse, and they just kind of knew when I was going through it. It was a huge thing for me, and it really, put a lot on me. So they always kind of knew how to be there for me and just make sure, like we would get out and we would do stuff and we'd hang out and make sure, my mental was elsewhere, because that was something that would take over my whole being for days and weeks. Because like if I had the second I hadn't heard from her, because she's the most communicative person I know. Like she just over communicates, and love her to death, but she just will blow up my phone on a regular basis. So when I didn't hear from her, that's when I knew like something is
Right.
wrong, something is up, this is happening again. And then I would get that call from a blocked number, and a couple days later, hoping that she's well and somewhere. So anytime I was kind of dealing with that, my friends were really, really, really great about that. And of course, my dad, the best support there could be. He was there for us, and he did everything for us, made sure we were well taken care of. And then just kind of any like partners throughout that time, because granted that was I don't know, 10-15 year time frame. So there was a couple people in my life that meant a lot. And then of course my dad's side of the family too stepped in a lot. And then my mom's sister too, she was always checking in on us from afar. So all of them pretty much live in Massachusetts, so they weren't like here, but my dad's sister did move down here with us for a little bit. It's hard for me to remember, but I know that it was like a good amount of time that she was there. um, and then yeah, just having all of those people there for support. And there were times where I would get upset in my teen years when I had to get sat down, and my grandparents were like on my dad's side of the family, just being like, you can't talk to your mother, you can't do this, you can't do that, because this and this is going on. And I, for so many years, was so defensive of my mom and just saying, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, she's fine. Like, she's going to come home and this, and like, naive about it, but hopeful because it's my mom. So,
Yeah. Everyone always hopes for the best, and
yeah,
you don't want to believe that these things are happening, and
right.
especially to yourself. It happens on the TV shows or on the movies, but it doesn't happen to yourself.
Yeah.
Did you did you ever get like resenting the people who were telling you you can't talk to them, you can't talk to your mum, you can't contact her? Did you get resentful?
Yeah, there's actually a story of I don't know if my family would remember this, but there's one time where we were kind of sat down at a dining table, like me, my brother, my sister. Granted, I'm probably still really young, like maybe 11, 12, like it was shortly into this. And my grandparents were just sitting there saying, like, this is what's happening. You're not talking to her anymore. You're going to come to us. You're going to come to your dad. Like, anytime she calls you, you tell us and you do not answer, and this. And it's just, and I just kind of got up and I yelled at them. And it was the first time I screamed at my family saying, I hate you, and slammed the door and
Wow.
ran away, kind of thing. So, yeah, it was very emotional. I was like, don't talk to me about my mom like that. Like, that's my mom, and you guys
Yeah.
don't know anything. Like, I was trying to be all, like I knew everything at 12. But yeah,
We know everything at 12, surely. We know
yeah,
we're the experts of life.
right.
Did you ever feel like you had to kind of make cover stories, if somebody's like, "Hey, where's your mum and dad today?" or, anyone who's new in your life, did you hide things for them and keep things to yourself for a while before you let the truth out kind of thing?
So cover stories, surprisingly, not so much. I
Okay.
was pretty open about things. And because like my closest friends, like of course I wasn't supposed to go out and telling people like what's going on, especially when things got really bad and she was like doing things she shouldn't be doing. And there was times where she was arrested and like there was jail time several times where I was just not supposed to be talking about those kinds of things. But if I did, it was always, yeah, my mom is sick again. And we went with
Right.
the sickness. And for me, that was really hard. And I still struggle with, the disease and addiction, that thing for me is I struggle with it a lot because I do feel like, it is a disease, but I feel like it's also a choice. I think it's both. So I struggle with that personally. So when I did mention it and talk about it to people, it was more just like, yeah, she's dealing with, she's trying to get better. She's in a facility that's helping her get better so that she doesn't choose to do that again. So,
Did um so you went to college and university and things, right?
mhm. Yes.
Did your mum being sick affect your choices as to where you went for college and university or when you went and things? So that, I've seen stories of people say they don't want to go too far away, they want to be close so that they are always there for the parents just in case, relapse or anything worse happened, so that they were close by. Is that something that ever influenced you guys?
I don't think it really did, honestly. I think I kind of got to a point in, I guess you could call it my maturity, where I was just like, you know what, if this happens again, it happens again. I only have so much in me. So I need to start doing things for me and stop, hanging back and trying to be that responsible adult for everybody when I have my own future ahead of me. Like, I just want to, go and do what I want to do. So for me, college was more just about like, the program I wanted to be in. And I definitely wanted to be in Florida and close to home. I'm definitely a homebody. I moved right back here as soon as I could. So I want to be close to my family, of course. But I don't think it was more geared towards that. I think it was just to stick around for support for the rest of my family, if anything.
Right.
Not so much for her in that, because I kind of got to a point at that time in my life where I was ready to just do things for me.
I think that you very much sound, your attitude to things is very similar to mine. And I think that you're, from what I've known from the last few years of you, I always look after everyone else before I look after myself, and I think that you're the same way. I think it's a older sibling thing. The more I talk about
Yeah.
this kind of thing with people, the older siblings are the ones who are the mini mums, or the one that wants to support and look after everybody else first. So I
Yeah.
can understand that.
Yeah.
When you started dating and getting older and things, did the experiences that you went through with your mum affect who you chose as your life partner?
I would say so, yeah, for sure. It had a big part in it. I would say, especially now, my now husband, he's a godsend. I love that man so much. I found a lot in him that I had been lacking, growing up. Having someone to take care of me
Yeah.
when I need it to, and just having someone that came from a very stable home, which was also a huge, factor in our relationship and our stability, is that like he has a reliable, healthy family that I'm now a part of, which is amazing. But just knowing that, he didn't come from a broken home like I did. So we kind of balanced each other out that way.
Yeah.
Because I went through quite a bit my whole life. So just like lots and lots of things. So he was a great, support system and took it all in. And he took it gracefully. And he's also my mother's favorite person now. They are like two peas in a pod. They're literally best friends, I think closer than me and her are at this point. So definitely found a lot of like even like her like humor, some of her characteristics in him, like they just kind of, that's how they get along so well. And growing up too, I had a couple of relationships that were not great. Like one of my earliest relationships, there was a little bit of emotional abuse in there, and it just kind of triggered me a lot more, and it just kind of felt like, on top of everything that I was going through with my family, like I don't understand why I'm thinking that I'm deserving of something like that, when I know that I should be cared for, of course. So
Yeah.
there was times where I just kind of, I looked at relationships and I was like, okay, like this shouldn't be like this. Even though sometimes I felt like it's what I that's what I get because that's what I've been dealt. That's what my life has felt like. So why not? But then I found Anthony, and everything is way it's way greener on this side. So yeah, definitely
I
plays a part.
adore Anthony. He is so fun. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever, like one of the
Yeah,
nicest people I've ever met over here. He's so nice and
yeah, he's just so genuine, and he just cares about people, and he's
yeah.
never negative about anything, and that's just something that I definitely need because I've got a lot of darkness in my past and a lot of stuff that I still carry around with me, but he's the light to that.
It's very refreshing when you do find someone like that as well. It's not very often you can
Right.
find that. So I do think we've
Yeah,
been lucky in
it's
that
rare.
department, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I do feel like your dad's like that a lot. He
Yeah.
is, he might sometimes be, a little bit down when he's saying
Yeah.
some things, but you know that he's like deep down it's really lighthearted
Oh
and
yeah,
he'll do the best for
he's
everyone.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
We
the
actually went
sweetest.
out
He
for
tries
dinner
to
with
hide
your
it.
dad. When did we go? Friday. We went for dinner with your dad and
Oh yeah.
Kyle's mum, so that was nice. I feel
Yeah.
like I've not seen him for months either.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna go see them today. He's got to see the babies.
Nice.
Yeah, the babies made
Speak.
him soft.
Yes, yes. Speaking of babies, obviously everything that you went through as a child, how do you now protect yourself and your kids going forward? What do you have like boundaries that you've put in place, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so actually the biggest the main foundation of my mom and I's relationship is boundaries. We have, at this point our relationship is strong, but we still, keep I've still got trust issues, and you want to make sure that she's doing well at all times. And, I don't want any of that to ever come back on my kids. I don't ever want them to even know what that is, in our house. And I just want to know, this is your fun, happy, loving Grammy. Like, this is what you have, and it will always be like this. For that to happen, our boundaries are firm. Like, we're not going to, you know, we like overstay our welcome, like don't like overstep anything. Like it's just to be there to help me when I need help, and just be there to play with the kids and make them happy because they love her to death. Like they just
Yeah,
want her around all the time, and I want that for them. So just having that, to connect them. And anytime that I always talk to my mom openly about it, and like if there's any time where she thinks that there's ever a chance she might fall off the wagon or anything, to give me that call, give me a phone call before you think about doing it, because that's, you're going to give up a whole lot, if you do that again at this point in time. Like you've gotten so far and you have so much going for you now, and that is going to cost you your grandkids
yeah,
and your relationship with me. So just making that, a known fact, like I will be there to help you get through it. But if you do choose to make that decision again, um, that's kind of it for me and my trust with my kids. So I need to, I'm a force around them. I'll make sure that they never feel any of that, and they'll never get hurt by anybody or anything. But hopefully that relationship stays strong, and they can continue to build on that, and hopefully it never happens for her again, and she's on the right path for
yeah.
the rest of time.
I was going to ask you if you had any thoughts of like any unfinished business from like moments that you missed out, but I feel like you've put so many things in place and you're so open with your mum and how you want things to look in the future that there's probably not any unfinished business as stuff or as such that you need to discuss with her. It sounds like you're both in a
Yeah.
very, very healthy place.
Yeah, we're both very open. She, we bat heads a little bit because I'm just like her when it comes to a lot of things, and like I'm very strong-headed, strong-willed, and so is she. So it's like I try to like we try to put each other in our place sometimes, and I'll just be like, "Hey, you're doing too much, or you're doing this and doing that," that kind of thing. Like we're very open with each other, and she takes it well because in the past she didn't used to do that. It used to be like it felt like an attack to her if I would say like you need to be doing this or you need to like get better, do this. Like I was only saying it out of the goodness of my heart. I wasn't trying
Yeah.
to make someone better. I'm not trying to fix things. I want everything to be better for her. So just we're very open about that kind of thing, and our boundaries are very clear. And she respects mine, and I respect hers. So yeah,
Nice. Do you still use any sort of like therapies or anything to help, like coping skills, just to keep you on the straight and narrow with, mentally knowing what to be doing and where you are and how things are going? Or now that, like you say, she's been sober what for 7, 8 years now? Did you say
yeah. I think I don't remember exactly, but somewhere around around those.
she's approaching 10? She's getting
Yeah.
there. Do you still use therapies now, or is there anything that you, other than the boundaries, is that just the only thing that you feel like you need to use now?
Yeah, I think at this point, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm pretty, like, I feel pretty confident in the way that we communicate and the way that, like, our relationship is and, how open we are about things. And I haven't been in actual therapy for it for a very long time. But that specifically, yeah, I don't really do a whole lot for it. I'm just trying to keep, I do keep my distance sometimes. It's just the way that I am. I'm just so protective of my family and our peace. And I just want to make sure that, nothing disturbs that. So if at any point, there's any sort of concern in any realm of that for her, like I let it be known and just be like, hey, like, I think that we need to take some space or something like that. Like we're both like very open like that. And she receives it well, I would say. So I don't think that there's anything that I really cope with other than just being open and talking about it.
Nice. I think that we're definitely in a time now where talking about things is easier, because we are getting that extra confidence and we know it's okay to talk, um and it's okay to talk to your parents. I remember when I was younger thinking, well, they're my parents, I can't say anything to them. They're in charge. They're the people who are
Right.
more authoritative than me. But I think we're definitely, oh, well, I'm almost 40, so I can definitely say what I need to say, but we've learned how to do it in a respectful way without upsetting or causing stress for either side. So I think that's really good.
Yeah. That was a big part for us is like getting past that like taking offense to it. Like it was like we're past that. Like no offense, but
Yeah,
like this needs to change. And growing up when she was there, the times that she was there. Like she was fully there. She's present for me, and today she's fully present for me and supportive of me. And there was times where I constantly like I bragged to everybody. I was like, my mom is my best friend. I would tell her everything. Like I would tell her anytime anything would happen with a boy, anything would happen with my friends. I would tell her if I did something bad. If I was like, oh my god, I had my first drink. Like don't yell at me, like that kind of thing. Like she was that person that I would go to when she was there. I took full advantage of her presence,
good.
and she knows that. And like we were very very close anytime we could be. And granted, all those times that were like in between where I would just start getting angry because I wanted that to stay like that forever. So I just get so mad when she would relapse and do something to just take that all away from me, because we would get really really good and then it would just get taken away.
Yeah,
But we're really really good again.
good. Okay, I've got two questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. So, if you could tell your teenage self one thing, looking back now, what would you tell yourself?
Oof, yeah. Um, I think I would just say like just be proud of myself and just say like you're doing a good job, you're doing the best you can. Um, and this is temporary, because for the longest time I just felt like it was never going to end. It was constant. It was my life. That's what I was known for. It's, Katie's mom is an addict. Like it's back and forth. It was back and forth. She's better and she's not. So just to tell myself that it's going to get better and there's going to be a time where you guys are going to be dancing together at your wedding and she's going to be Grammy to your kids. It's all going to get better because there was some really really dark times for me at that age. Just going through that time without her. Um, so yeah, just make sure I knew that it was gonna get better.
Things can always get better. They might have to get worse first, but they'll always get better. And my very last question for you: um, what do you want our listeners to know who may be in a similar situation?
Yes, I would just say, use your best judgment and your best, put your best face forward on deciding on, how you want to navigate that relationship. And it is totally up to you. It is your choice whether you want to support that person or not. You don't feel guilt for not wanting to, because there were times where I did not want to and I chose not to, and then I changed my mind. So if it's not in the cards for you, if it's not helping your peace to support this person and let it, bother you and hurt you or harm you in any way, then don't do it. They will, it's about choices, and it is about, taking those steps to decide if you want to be better or not. So you have to kind of give them that, and also, give yourself grace and give them a little bit of grace too, even though you probably don't want to, but just, they have to have some sort of support too. So if, you're choosing to kind of step away, just give them maybe an alternative source and just be like, hey, why don't you check this out, check out this program, or check out this, or I read something that sounds like you could benefit from it. Have a listen, and then come back to me when you're in a better headspace, because I need to separate myself from this. Just kind of, navigating through that, and just not feeling like it's your fault. Also, like, none of it is your fault. Again, the disease part of addiction has nothing to do with, the loved ones. It's just something that, they have to work through and get through, and some people can, some people can't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thank you so much for coming to talk to me.
of
I've
course.
definitely learned a lot, that's for sure. And what I'll do as well is I'll put a link to your mum's book. I think it's on Amazon, isn't it?
Yes, it is on Amazon.
I'll put a link to your mum's book in the podcast as well. So anyone who is interested who would like to have a read, you're most welcome to. Thank you, anyone who is still listening, and until next time.